and watching to the One Thing on Edge Radio Australia. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This is really exciting. You are joined by myself, Lisa, Leanne Jones, and
peace out,
Travis Carter.
I can't believe you forgot my name then. So yes, the shaved monkey's in the house.
The shaved monkey. I'm
going
still
to call
going
him
to
the
ask you exactly
shaved
why you're
monkey.
called the shaved monkey. And Faye Suzanne, our beautiful Suzanne. I called you Faye Suzette. It's Suzanne, isn't it?
I'll come to whatever you say.
Our beautiful guest, Faye. So we're really excited about today's hot topic. We've been running the One Thing on our radio station for the last 3 or 4 months, and then we had a break and we've come back and we're all visual. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but we're getting there. Leanne, how was your day?
It was wonderful. I identify as Taryn, the token Aaron, because Aaron's not here, Lisa.
No,
we forgot to mention that.
No, we didn't. We haven't been there yet.
Okay.
But we will. So this
We've
is
got 3 people watching. Yes.
Yay! So this is the very first show we've done without our co-host, who was actually banned from saying anything on our very first show.
He was, but that didn't happen, did it?
No, it absolutely did not happen.
So hang on. You banned Aaron from being Aaron.
It was going to be our show. Travis, you got to understand. It was going to be the Lisa and Leanne show, but Aaron has a way. He has a really nice way of, meandering in.
What, putting the horns down, just charging in?
No, he meandered. Honestly.
Now, here's a subject of interest. You were saying the other day that our Post-it note episode actually got into trouble. Because you do all the background stuff, don't you, Travis?
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of our most successful ones. And that was the show. That was actually the one thing that we launched with, wasn't it, Leanne?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
There you go.
We got copyright struck for it.
Oh, really?
Yay. Thank you, YouTube.
Awesome. So we should have called it something else.
We should have called it
censorship show.
Stickies.
So
that would have been a good one.
Please do share, Travis, just before we jump into our hot topic for today, why... and Travis did ask everybody what Travis we wanted today on our show. Maybe our listeners can kind of give feedback on this as, if you think he's going a little bit off task or off topic, or what were our choices for a start, Travis?
The slightly normal Travis, the hanging loose Travis, or the Aaron Travis.
Slightly normal, hanging loose, or the
Aaron Travis.
The Aaron Travis.
But he hasn't got the hat,
travesty.
so it can't be the Aaron Travis.
Okay.
Has to be one of the other two. Your choice, Lisa. I'm not letting
it. I don't know which one.
I don't want to let it loose.
Yet.
I do not want to go there.
Okay, so we'll just go in gradually. We will just go in gradually.
Say tongue in cheek.
You'll look at me, and this is why I'm facing this way.
And if you're thinking we're having so much fun or too much fun on the One Thing, you are 100% right. And we really need to dive into this topic. So thank you very much, Faye, for bringing this topic to fruition, I guess. When we were talking a few weeks ago, I asked if there was a topic that you were passionate about, and this is one that you're very passionate about. Maybe start by sharing why that is.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. So nice to be here. And after our discussion the other day, you realise that this is a topic that we actually need to talk about more, because I've heard so many people asking more about autism. And, everybody's been seeing it as a disability, whereas my experience is that it's actually a gift. Yes, it can be challenging, but I actually see that there's more of a gift in it. So I wanted to actually address that today.
So maybe you could share with us what your background is professionally, and then let us know personally why you've got such an interest.
Sure. So professionally, I was a nurse for 40 years and midwife for 37 years. So now I'm a business owner. And I have 4 kids. They're all now adults, and I've got 5 grandkids. So I'm very passionate about children as well, right from pregnancy and birth and through to adulthood. So, yes, I love being a grandma and looking after my grandkids when I get the chance. And the reason why this is so passionate is that one of my children ended up with autism. He wasn't born with it, but it sort of came as a result of something, an episode. And so, it changed his life and my life, and really it changes the life of everybody around. And it was quite challenging, but he's now 28, and through the process, I've learned a lot. He's actually been my greatest teacher in life, which is pretty amazing.
It's great to see we've already got comments coming through on the show as well. So if you do have any questions about any of the statements that made during the show.
Would you like me to read that
Oh,
comment?
absolutely.
Travis is so not sexy.
Lies.
Oops, sorry. Travis is so sexy, apparently.
So just so you guys know, that was me a test to make sure it's still working. And Leanne, if you don't mind, can you just drop down the StreamYard thing on the top there for us?
What?
So just hide the blue one. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That one. Yep. That one. Yeah. No, that other one. No.
You're doing well.
Stop it.
You're doing well there, Leanne. You're
He's
doing,
driving his car.
you're doing well. So if anyone is watching or listening to us live or to the replay, and you want to give us your thoughts on anybody that has been diagnosed with it used to be called autism, didn't it? But the language these days seems to be being on the spectrum. Would you agree with that, Leanne?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's more of an autism spectrum disorder because it's
there's
a
lot
whole
of different
spectrum.
there's a whole lot of different levels to it, isn't there?
Yeah, it presents in many forms, and it can have high functioning, low functioning, everything in between. So, it's very hard to diagnose because of it. And a lot of it people pick up that you may have ADHD, which is one of the first things that parents notice, is that the child is actually quite very ADHD. No, not the
I wear my ADHD with pride. So,
yeah.
And again, same with autism. To me, it's not a disability. ADHD just means that I'm an expert at everything.
I have found that over the years, like when your son was young and when my sons were younger, you never heard it. You never heard the word autism. You never heard, there were ADHD. The child was either, very intelligent or very quiet, or they used the descriptive words, not a label word. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Or you just didn't get invited back.
Yeah, I feel like I'm really sinking into this couch now. It's really annoying me.
It's very comfortable.
Yeah. So they were either hyperactive, was always used, hyperactive word, and in which case you just let them run around the oval for a couple of laps and then come back to join the party.
What about in the classroom though, Leanne? I remember I was born in the 60s, last year of the baby boomers, and brought up in the schooling system in the 70s. And I was of that era where kids got put in the corner. And they got the dunce hat. I mean,
I never got that.
No, I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
No. I never had that. I never had that in the classroom.
But you recognise the word dunce?
Yeah, it's dumbass, isn't it?
DUNCA.
No,
I don't know.
No, I thought dunce was like the intelligent one.
No, I always thought
that's
the dunce
ducks.
was.
Oh, that's the ducks.
Ducks class.
The ducks nuts. That's right. The ducks nuts.
No.
Yeah, I remember that now. We used to make fun of them. Yeah, we did.
Do you remember there being special classes? Like there was a real stigma around kids that weren't coping in the classroom, and they were just dumb or dunces, and other kids used to tease them.
Yeah, they're quite often treated just as like the child that won't behave or they won't get on and do their work.
I never, ever remember that in my classrooms.
Okay.
As a child, I got put out the front, and told to get out of the classroom in grade 2 because I was helping other kids out. But I never ever got told. Like I don't ever remember kids being in the naughty corner. Maybe I just refused to see that.
Classes. Wow.
Even in the 90s, like, let's say I was born 83, so I would have been year 1 in.
You're young enough to be my child. That's scary. And your child.
I was in year 10. I could have been your mum too.
If you're wondering why the lag's going on, there's all these comments coming through. And it's like, oh, I can't say that one. Can't say that. So I'm behaving at this stage. Oh, we got more comments. So we, in the late 90s, early 2000, sorry, late 80s, early 90s, like through primary school and that, we still had, sit in the corner or got kicked out of the classroom, so sit outside for 5 minutes while you calm down, things like that.
I don't see that as a real punishment. If you've been awesome. Running amok, you need a little bit of time out.
No, see, we saw it as a chance to get away from the teacher to do what you want.
Gosh,
so, it wasn't a punishment. So,
No.
and I think the biggest problem I had was when I was at school. If I finished something in the classroom, why did I have to do it at home? So I'd never do my homework. So I was always getting into trouble for not doing my homework. And it just never sat in.
You weren't conforming.
No, never have.
Surprise. Surprise.
I used to always do my homework during lunch breaks. I never had to do it when
you were good.
I never had to do it at home.
Too busy playing football and chasing girls.
Yeah.
That's high school. I mean,
So
I was throwing apples at the girls in primary school.
Are we basically suggesting that some of these children that we're talking about now, these days, would have been diagnosed? Because we have so much more intervention now, don't we?
We do.
Or we have intervention. We never used to.
There's probably too much.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say.
Yeah, because
do you think it's too much?
Yeah, that's a
what
question,
do you think out there in live StreamYard land, people?
I mean, it's great that things are picked up earlier now and sort of identified. But
then are we putting too many labels on people?
Yeah, I'm not really into labels either.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And in some ways, it's good to get a label just so that you know what you're dealing with, so that you can work out a strategy to actually work with it. Whereas if you don't have a label, then quite often just treat it as naughty.
I do agree that way. Yeah,
So when people understand that there is actually,
but then they use it as an excuse too. There's people out there that, I mean, not everyone, but people will use it as an excuse. Oh, I've got ADHD, I've got autism, so that won't suit me.
Do people say they have autism though? I hear people a lot saying they have ADHD. But there's not so much of a recognition there for people that have autism, is there?
So much, no.
I have people I know of people that have say, I think I've got autism.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they've not been diagnosed with it. But.
Okay.
So one thing I'd like to know with Faye, what's the biggest difference between ADHD and autism?
Oh, it's quite different actually, because not everybody with autism has ADHD. So they're quite separate things. But then Asperger's is like, ADHD on steroids almost. but Asperger's is very close to high functioning autism. But the only way you get a diagnosis of either is to actually go through rigorous testing. So you've got to have 3 independent psychologists that test your child and actually tick all the boxes and count up the numbers to make sure, and depends how many numbers you get as to, whether you're actually classed as Asperger's or autism with high functioning.
Yeah. And who makes up the, there's so many different levels. People's personalities have to come into consideration as well.
Yep.
So how, are we leaving it in the hands of people that, I don't know, with all these diagnoses and all that sort of stuff, questioning whether or not they are all made out to be exactly what they're made out to be? I don't know.
And at the end of the day, I think with the diagnosis, it's just so that you have a label really. But I think when you treat people independently, individually, and actually look at their strengths, and this is why I think it's more of a gift, because when we actually realise that people with autism actually have really unique gifts,
they are
strengths that other people don't. Like they can focus on something, one thing, one thing. They can actually focus on one thing really intensely and get so much done in that area. So if we actually work to their gifts, then they can be so productive in the workplace or at school. Whereas if we're trying to ask them to do 100 things at once, it's just not going to happen because they can't follow, 3 different directions at once. So like if I ask my son or if anybody with autism, if you say, can you do this and then this and then this? No, you've lost them. They can do one thing and then you wait for them to finish that and then you get them to do the next thing. And when you understand that, then it's really easy. It's a bit like NLP. And actually, I did my NLP training way back to get over stage fright of speaking and everything. But it actually helped me so much with the autism because one of the things with NLP is that you do pace, lead. And so if you actually go into their world and actually be like them and relate to them where they're at, and then you gradually lead them out, then they actually do follow and they can actually follow instructions. So one thing at a time rather than trying to bombard them with multiple things. And then you'll find they're really productive and they follow directions and they do things really well.
See, I can relate to that as well. I don't like being bombarded with things.
You know,
Me too.
yeah.
What was that?
Me too. It overwhelms me.
Yes, and I think most people do to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm total opposite to that. Give me a list of everything that's there and just give it to me in one hit. Because the moment my shoes come off, I'm done. I'm not doing anything else. So
no, lists I'm fine with.
Yeah, lists are good because you
Lists
can
are
tick them off, and I work well with lists.
I
as
work
well.
well with lists too.
So, but the wife, every time, the moment my bottom touches a seat or a couch or anything like that, oh, honey, can you do this? And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, no, just
Hope Luann's
giving.
not listening to this.
Oh, we have this discussion all the time. So
Ooh.
anyway, yeah, just the whole
Monica
idea of
Geller says Dad's listening. Hi, Dad.
hey, Dad.
Hey, Dad.
Considering everything that's going on with P Diddy, it's probably not a good idea saying "Hey, Dad."
Oh, see, this is what we mean by unleash the shaved monkey.
Jesus,
Right.
oh my gosh. Aaron's
Okay.
probably watching and thinking, why did I leave Travis in charge?
So
I'm trying to keep
what
him
I-
in touch, Aaron.
So what I'd like to do at this
Get it
point
touched.
is just rein us back in to talk about what's the hot topic, which is important. And Faye has given us some notes, and I'd like to read straight from them if it's okay. And what is autism versus what is normal?
Exactly.
In inverted commas. I don't actually know any normal person.
You're
Autism.
definitely not sitting next to one today.
No, I
Nothing
don't.
to say about Faye.
I don't attract normal people. Autism spectrum disorder is a neurodevelopmental condition characterized by challenges in social interaction, communication, and repetitive or restricted behaviors. It is referred to as a spectrum because it includes a wide range of symptoms and abilities, varying greatly from person to person. I think that's a really good point. Key features of ASD include social challenges, difficulty in understanding social cues, maintaining eye contact, and forming relationships. Communication difficulties, delayed speech, trouble understanding verbal and non-verbal communication, or limited controversial skills, conversational skills, repetitive behaviors and routines, engaging in repetitive actions, fixating on specific interests or resisting changes in routine, and sensory sensitivities, heightened or reduced sensitivity to sensory input, such as sound, light, or textures. And I can really relate to that last one myself. I don't do too well with sensory input. I used to work in a call center and I just couldn't handle the noise.
Oh, yeah,
in
no, I don't
certain
think anyone could
places.
handle that.
Mhm.
That's
Oh,
awful.
See, a amount of people that work in there and just don't complain though, Leanne.
Oh, my goodness. I couldn't handle that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be too busy listening on to other conversations. Sorry.
So one thing I haven't mentioned, but I would like to because it's very, very relevant, is my beautiful grandson called Leo, who just turned 3 in August. He's actually been diagnosed as being on the spectrum.
Happy birthday, Leo.
And
Virgos are the best.
He is indeed a gift. He's just the most beautiful gift that's ever come into our life. And my granddaughter's gorgeous too, as are my children. But it's like my daughter Alex said at his birthday party, everybody that comes in contact with him just falls in love with him. He's just such a gentle soul. And I'm not suggesting for one moment that any human that has been diagnosed with being on the spectrum is like this, because I know that's not often the case. And the feedback that Alex and Anthony actually got when he went in and got diagnosed, they said they'd never actually met such a loving child that was on the spectrum. He just wanted to hug them. But all of these things here I can really relate to with Leo.
Mm-hmm.
And there were quite a few things that were signs. One of them was, and he still does it now, but not as often as he does, spinning.
Mm.
So he'll and Alex was explaining that apparently when kids do this, they don't feel the same dizziness, which is exactly the opposite to me. I need to actually stop him sometimes because he'll do it. It feels like 100 times. I've never actually counted. He'll just spin and spin and spin. And when I Googled it, apparently what it is it's called stimming. and it relaxes their nervous system. So it calms it down. Have either of you ladies or Travis heard of that?
I have. There's a comedian I listen to who's got high, I don't know if it's high level autism or not, but he stims a lot. So he twitches and moves his body and all that.
Yep.
But he's also got really active ADHD as well. So it's like he gets super excited about one thing, but he's ultra depressed about it at the same time. So, and he all his stand-ups are about his journey. Hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
What's he called?
I can't remember. It comes up on my feeds every now and then.
Okay.
And so I just gave him a subscribe without really listening. So it came up. When I find it, I'll send it through.
Does anyone else out there know who that comedian
Highly
is?
inappropriate, by the way.
Oh,
so a lot
maybe
of
you
swearing
don't know because it's Travis.
So, but he's really, really cool. So my mum, the stimming side of things, I bounce my legs. And so it drives my mum up the wall.
Yeah, I do that as well.
So a lot of people stim in one way or another.
Yeah.
But it's so, and there's I saw a YouTube video clip. There's this kid that just like fast spins non-stops. And then when he comes out of it, he just walks like normal. Like if it was me doing that, I'd
fall
straight on my face sort of thing.
Yep.
So what about babies head banging?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is something, my
Just
son
not
used to just
intentionally.
bang his head, walk into the wall constantly, just
bang,
repeatedly
bang,
bang, bang,
bang.
bang. Yeah. And also the flicking, constant flicking and the rocking and all those things.
Tapping pens.
Yeah.
And when they get older, what about pen chewing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
okay. I've
lots
not
of
heard of
pen
that one.
chewing. I don't know. Just constantly chewing things. Doesn't matter what it is. Pens, plastic, anything. Just chew. I've heard of it, but I don't know. Is that a thing?
Oh, I
Does
hope
anyone
not.
out there know?
I used to
Because
chew.
I chew lots of pens too.
Do you?
No, I don't. Not that I do now, but I used to. Yeah.
When I was a kid, because I've had glasses since I was small, I used to chew the back of the
really?
glass. So I'd cut the back of my ears because they'd become like a serrated knife. And that's one of the things I used to do, just drive mum
you look
up
so
the
different
walls.
without your glasses on.
I know, that's because I'm handsome either way.
Well, what do the viewers think?
He certainly is.
Yeah.
It's called self-confidence and arrogance.
What I would like to know, Faye, and if you know anything about this as well, is undiagnosed autism and in adults, and the fear of actually being put into a position of having a full-time job, and then that's not exactly what you want to be, but getting stuck in it because that's all because they have that thing where they just do it and just don't stop and they can't get out.
Quite often though, they're quite comfortable. Are you talking about if they're happy to be there or not?
If they, it's the fear of even going into something like that and not being able to get out of it. So having a job and not being able to get out of it to go and do something they do want to do, because the real fear is there of getting a job in the first place.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And trying to get them into something that actually lights them up is really difficult. Yeah. But once they find their thing, then they're really good at staying at it because, once they find it, they don't want to change either because they don't like change. So.
And speaking of that, I have found that back in the day, so a lot of the older population, they've been in their jobs for like 50 years, so they'd been with the one from the age of 15 till they retired. They were in this one particular job. Do you reckon that would stem from something like that as well, a little bit? So they may have been on the spectrum.
I don't know, because that's what used to happen back in that day. You just sort of, you left school, you got a job and you stayed in that job for the rest of your career until you retired. Whereas now people, and I don't know whether it's because society is so fast paced or people like change or whatever it is, or whether there's a lot of ADHD, so people don't like staying in a job for too long because they lose interest and they want to try something new. And that's not a bad thing at all. But a
lot of people don't have the opportunity to stay in jobs for long term these days because change is so constant.
So the world is changing, so people are kind of having to move with the times.
I also think, considering the and now this is where politics comes into it, because the labour laws have changed so much over the time. So it's much easier for someone to change a job now and get like better conditions moving from one job to the next.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that isn't so much a worker's behaviour. I think that's more of a political side of things. The environment in political society has changed a lot in that one. So
we've got a question up there.
Yeah, click on it.
Yeah.
Woohoo, now everyone can see it.
Where?
go up a little bit,
okay.
and then hit that
that's fine.
box,
You've
and now
just
we can
chopped
all
it.
read
Here
it.
we go. Faye, how, as a mother, did you feel when you were told your child has autism? Hi, Monica.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I was actually relieved when I found out, because I knew that something was up, something wasn't normal.
Yes.
Because as I said, there was an event that happened that changed things. I'm not allowed to say it.
Yep.
Well, you're choosing
very political. I'm choosing not to,
you're
because it's very
choosing not to
political.
say it.
But most people will know what that is.
Yeah.
And sort of changed. He, was perfectly normal and healthy and happy, and then things changed. And
How
so
old was he, Faye?
he was 2 when that
Okay.
happened. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
We all know what that was then, don't we?
I
And
actually know another family that's happened to them.
I know lots. I know
yep.
so many, but but it's not allowed to be said. But anyway, that did happen, and so things changed. And so when I spent years trying to find out what happened, and what was the problem, because nobody listened. I had such a hard time trying to be heard about what my concerns were, and everybody just kept on. And I got referred to psychologists and to developmental psychologists. My son ended up with learning disabilities, trying to delayed speech and fine motor skill issues. So he's going to speech therapy and a few other things. And anyway, everywhere I went, I just got told, no, it's my imagination. I'm a bad parent, but I've got 4 kids, and why one's different to the others when they're all parented the same.
Was he the youngest or the oldest?
No,
or?
he's my third.
Your third.
Yeah.
Okay, that would have been hard.
So,
Yeah,
Faye, what were the key signs for you for your son?
Well, he used to sit there and, rock backwards and forwards, sucking his fingers and, hood over the head, and just go right into, and just wouldn't, wouldn't communicate, wouldn't listen, wouldn't socialise, didn't like people, still not really engaging in that way. But that's by choice now, because I'll go on later to explain what's happened in the journey, because he doesn't have all these symptoms now, because we did a lot of healing around it. But yeah, how I felt was very relieved, because it actually said that I wasn't going insane. I actually was recognised that what I had picked up as a mother intuitively, and what I could see in my own child, was validated. So I felt much better knowing that, yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question, Monica.
It was a really good question.
Whilst we're just kind of on that tangent, how did people manage financially those days? Because I know the NDIS is very generous these days with the funding to actually help support people that have been diagnosed with disabilities.
Yeah, it's really hard. And
did
back
you have
then
financial?
too, no. Well, it took me a long time. I was going through the public system, and everything takes so long. This is why it took until he was 5 years old to get a diagnosis, and then actually it was later. It was when he was about 8, because he was in primary school when we finally got the diagnosis. And so once he got the diagnosis, I got lots of help, because finally you could get funding and you could get a carer in the classroom that could just help. But I asked that the carer was, kind of in the background, that would just help generally, so that he wasn't made to seem different. Because, I didn't want him to be segregated and treated differently. So that helped a huge amount. But it wasn't until I actually went private and got him seen straight away that we got the diagnosis. Otherwise, it could have gone on until he was 15. Who knows?
Oh, wow.
Just out of curiosity, I know most doctors, the moment someone's got ADHD, they try and push the Ritalin and all the other medications onto them. With autism kids, do they have like medication that they try to
they did. They tried to, they put him on it for a little while, because he wasn't focusing or getting any work done, and he was on it for a little while, and then I stopped it after a while, because I noticed that it actually just turned him into a zombie. I didn't like it at all. It was horrible just watching the transition, becoming really slowed down and blocked out from the world. And he put on weight because he wasn't as active. And then I read a lot about, the side effects of it, how dangerous it was. So I actually said, I'm not having him on that.
Good.
So I took him off, and he came back to his normal self.
That sounds like antidepressants almost.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. But it's not good.
No, so that's what I mean.
So I was much happier when we took him back off the medication.
When I fractured my arm quite a few years ago now, they put me on really strong painkillers. And I can remember saying to so many people, oh my goodness, I now know how those oldies feel. And what I mean by that is I was working in a dementia wing at the time. And yes, they did have dementia, because I was in a dementia wing. but so many of them were so heavily medicated, and I felt like a zombie, Leanne. Like I hadn't experienced that before, and I thought, oh my goodness, some of the way that they're presenting is because they're so drugged up.
Yeah, when I worked in mental health for 10 years, it wasn't a nice sight to see.
Yeah.
And especially young, very, very able-bodied people with mental health issues being, you know, spoon-fed drugs and made to seem like that was normal.
Yeah.
Was that normal? I don't think so.
I personally feel the medical system these days, they just try and push any form of medication they can, because you got to remember that, so it'll make them insane amounts of money. So I had the distinct pleasure of parking a motorbike under a car.
By choice?
No, definitely not by choice. So I was on tramadol, pregabalin, Ventolin, Celebrex. There's about 8 or 9 different painkillers I was on.
Wow.
And that was for about 8 years. So 13 ruptured discs. Like, it was a good crash. It was a really good crash.
Wow.
So when you were talking about how there can be certain events that can trigger autism. So I used to be fine with loud crowds. I've worked in call centers before, not a problem. I was a DJ, so noise blaring at you, people shouting at you, not a problem. After my accident, I couldn't handle crowds at all. Like, if we went to a restaurant or something, I had to sit in the corner with my back to the wall because I'd get paranoid. I'd get frightened of people in there. Like, I just couldn't handle society for about 8 years, which is kind of strange. You see me now.
It's probably your nervous system. Probably your nervous system
absolutely
would have taken a shot.
Totally.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about that, I was like, oh, maybe I should get myself tested. But what happened is I actually slowly weaned myself off and started having a look at all these different alternatives. So that's what triggered my question about the medication for him, because I hate all forms of medication now. I think more around understanding the situation, how the brain works, and addressing that rather than just trying to dope them up, I think is a much better option.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's how I found my way out of this too, you know, is once we took him off that, then I started working with him with holistic medicines and things, or not medicines, it's a bad word for it, but, you know, holistic.
Well, the true medicines. Yeah. True medicines and true treatments.
Yeah. So I tried everything. So, you know, apart from using the NLP, which was like the biggest help that I
maybe just
had.
Explain for people that have not heard of NLP what it is.
Yeah, so it's neuro-linguistic programming. So it works with the subconscious mind, and you know, you can reprogram a lot of the subconscious thoughts and feelings and actions. So, you know, I used what I'd learned in my NLP training to do the pacing and leading to bring him out of it. And it took a long time, so it's certainly not an overnight thing, but you know, over time it was so effective, and it was the biggest change that I saw in him. And then when I paired that with homeopathy, because I went to homeopath that I knew, and we got rid of all the heavy metals out of his system. And that made a big difference too, mopping all that out. And then did a little Reiki and spiritual healing with him, because I do all that myself, and so I worked with him like holistically in that way as well. And that made a huge difference as well, because communicating with him on a different level made a big difference. And because I could tune into him, so this is just me and my journey, but I was able to tune into him and actually find out, you know, what was going on for him, and then be able to understand it more. And so then I could meet him where he was at, which made a huge difference, because, you know, everybody's different and how they respond to things. But when I could actually understand, you know, what was going on for him, and the fact that with autism, your sensitivity is really like on point. So hearing sounds that the average person can't hear, because there's so many different frequencies going on around us that we don't normally hear. But it's like the radio station, you know, when you're changing channels. Yeah. It's like they can hear all channels at once, which is why they're doing the blocking the ears and the rocking. Yeah. It was because of that, because they're hearing so much stuff that we're not hearing, and it gets overwhelming. So you're blocking your ears to cut it out. So when I could work with him energetically and actually fine tune what he was hearing, it kind of settled all that down. And,
I think that that is probably the best way to go with mental health. Having worked in it, like, I know autism. Well, it is. It is a challenge as well. But even in the mental health system, all their cognitive behaviour therapy treatments, all their psychiatrist treatments, all their psychology treatments, all their welfare officer treatments, all their checks, all their medications, they're stuck in a system. They're stuck in that repetitive system. And it wasn't until I found out and I did NLP as well, and did a lot of holistic things and holistic treatments that trauma stores in the body. So we can actually, we have the ability to release it. We don't need to know what it is. The unconscious mind, tapping into that, allowing that to release. And I think if we get more people out of that system and into more holistic approach, I think the world will be a much better place.
Totally agree. A lot of the mental health conditions as well, through my nursing and witnessing that as well, and understanding what's going on energetically actually opens up a whole world.
All you need to do is take one quick scoot around at one of the mental health hospitals or Greylands, and you'll see what medication can do to people. It's absolutely horrific.
I think there's definitely a place for medication. I'm very, very grateful for the times that I've needed it. Very grateful for where my dad passed, and it was made to be an experience that wasn't excruciatingly painful for him.
I agree.
He had mesothelioma, so very grateful for that. So I think there's certainly a place for it. There's certainly a place for doctors. If I chop my arm off, I don't want to be going and seeing a naturopath.
That's right. Yeah.
But there is a lot of common sense needed. The thing that I find really interesting is particularly with not so much my generation, but more so the generation ahead of me or above me, is there tended to be, and I still find it is the case with those that, are in their 70s and 80s, was that the doctors and the policemen and people in those types of positions, they had the power and they knew, and you just respected them. So if the doctor tells you something, but the mindset of a lot of people hasn't.
No, that's right. But the doctors have changed. So even I remember going to our local doctor, and he'd go, well, go home and do this, this, and this instead of here, have this pill. So back, when I was growing up. And so then you have the system where, as you said, the mindset of the people are the doctor knows.
The doctor knows, but it's
so
still the case now. So, I'm not feeling well, I'll go and see the doctor.
Exactly, because it's been so programmed into us.
Just out of curiosity, because I have zero faith in the Western doctors at the moment. They misdiagnosed my back. I've got 13 ruptured discs in my spine. So that's what all the problems were. They misdiagnosed that for nearly 2 years.
Wow.
So it wasn't until we went to Vietnam that we actually found out what the major problem was.
Couldn't they see that on an X-ray? Surely.
No, they wouldn't do them, or an MRI.
Wow.
So what happened is the training of the doctors for these days, I think, is far inferior to the actual level. Not so much about the actual technology and what's going on at the time, but with the doctors training, like for, the 50s, 60s, stuff like that, it's like, how can we get this person out of the hospital as fast as possible? Now it's more along the lines of, how can we get as much product into this person?
Well, we saw that through COVID, Travis, didn't we?
So I think it's not so much that doctors don't want to help people now. They can't. Their training doesn't allow them to do it.
So when I took my mum for a doctor, and I said, isn't there something else we can do for her? Like something outside of this? And she said, we are only trained to prescribe medications.
Spot on.
But that's where it's a perfect time now for both holistic medicine and traditional medicine to merge and actually support one another. So
and that work comes together down to somewhere like functional medicine.
Yes,
where it's coherent. Yeah, it's all working together.
Yeah, which is the medicine of the future, really, because there is a place for both, and they should be working together to actually help the people, because it's all about the person, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So it's about
100%.
What do we do for this individual, because everybody's different.
Yeah.
And so how do we actually help this person from multiple perspectives, because not one thing does everything. So it's bringing all the different things together that you can to help that person.
So, Faye, if let's say there's a parent out there at the moment and they've got some concerns about their kids and they're not sure what's going on or where they can turn to help, or to get, like with your journey going through the public system, how you're just like smashing your head against the wall trying to get through, what sort of advice can you give to parents out there, like who are looking for something to give them guidance or what to do?
Oh, look, I think the best place is actually parent support groups. You know, look, there's so many groups around now, especially on social media, where you've got parents that are already dealing with all this, and they're the best resource of all to go to because they've already been through the system. They've already found what works and what doesn't work. So tap into what's already out there, and, you know, because they're the ones that can actually give you advice on the best place to go and what worked for them, what didn't work for them. And it doesn't mean that what worked for them will necessarily work for you or your child, but, you know, you can try different things because, you know, it wasn't one thing that worked for my son. It was, you know, a whole gamut of things. And, you know, if you try different things and,
that's parenting on the whole, isn't it?
It is.
You get given all this information when they're born, and you take on board what works and just let go what doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in my sorry to interrupt, but in my daughter's case, because she was so young when she actually had her children, and she didn't have that support group, but the kids went to daycare part time, and they were an amazing support, and they were actually the ones that picked up.
Yeah, interesting.
So that's another way as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we would never have picked. Don't think I would have ever picked up anything because my kids never went into.
So
care.
if people are looking for some alternative, I don't like the word alternative, but like some holistic healers, stuff like that. I know the Worldwide Awake Businesses has a directory of businesses. So Lisa, what's the website to go find all the different businesses?
Yeah, thank you, Travis. We have some amazing people on the Worldwide Awake Business Network directory, one of which is Leanne and another which is Faye. Leanne, do you want to just let people know what you do?
So I do Bowen therapy. I also work with a product called ASEA Redox, which also helps signal our cells to heal, repair, and replace. So Bowen therapy actually works on the parasympathetic nervous system and works really well. So even for kids, from babies to the elderly, it's very gentle. So that can also help in regulating, as well as things like Reiki and stuff like that. And Faye?
Yeah, so my business is Soul Birth. So I work basically with the soul's journey. So whether it's from preconception through pregnancy, birth, and, you know, life, but work energetically with people to help, you know, find out, you know, tap into spirit and to their soul, their higher self as to what's actually going on, and work energetically and holistically with people.
Yeah.
So I have to get my Christian out in this one. So you got to remember the body is made up of not only your body, but it's also got your mind and your spirit. So you have to look after all three aspects of your life to have it work. So if one of them's lacking, whether it's the spiritual side of things, the soul side of things, or the body side of things, things aren't going to work properly. So you have to focus on all three. So
absolutely,
absolutely, 100%.
I have to say we are running out of time.
Oh, hang on, Taryn needs to say a word
Taryn's
as well.
getting into it.
Oh. Edge Radio Australia. No.
You're listening to the one thing.
The one thing.
On Edge Radio Australia. Do you want to just quickly let everyone know about the guests that we've got on next week before we thank Faye?
Sure. Next week, you're not here next week, are you?
No, I'm not here next week.
Lisa's not here.
Oh, no.
Oh.
You know what? I'll have to take her vest and I'll come in as the...
Do you want to come in as Lisa?
No, I'll be the teaser.
Do you know why? Because we've got a
teaser.
You can be teaser. There you go. Why not?
And it'll be
we've got a very special guest next week. Yeah, I'll be in a male job. Come along, Travis. You know, why not? I've got a very special guest and someone who's very close to the radio station and very close to my heart. And we're going to be talking about conflict resolution, Lisa.
Yes.
Shall I tell them who it is?
I'll be listening from Bali.
Oh, Lisa.
Tough for some, isn't it?
It's going to be Wayne.
Oh, Wayne's coming. Awesome.
Our Wayne. Our Wayne Brown's coming.
Wayne Brown, yeah.
Wayne.
So
Yeah.
it's the most famous Wayne I've ever met, and I always thought it was hilarious because it was on the Channel 7 football. So Wayne Carey. So they always called him King Carey, and so when you think about his name,
King Brown.
No, Lisa, you just don't get it. Don't go there, Travis. Stop.
Sit, boo boo,
Aaron,
sit.
control the monkey.
All right, flick us his hat. Throw us his hat.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Faye, for joining us.
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate having you on. And for anybody that is interested, Faye has her own show.
Oh, that
on
suits
Edge
you.
Radio.
Look at
It's
that.
terrible, isn't it? So I'll go do my Aaron impersonation. To be frank, this is the greatest show out there ever. So I think we need to go to final words and final thoughts. So how about we kick it off with Faye?
Final words?
Yeah, we're just running out of time. That's all.
Final words is please, if you have a child with autism or suspect they might do, please look at them as a gift, take them individually and learn a lot about it and see them as a gift and embrace them and love them because they're just here to love you unconditionally.
Oh, I love that. I got goosebumps.
They chose you as their parent.
They sure did.
Yeah, I've got goosebumps again.
And it's a journey for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they're a gift to you. How can I help you be a better human being?
Yes.
I just love it when you drop the mouse and like then all of a sudden.
Yeah, I
nothing
know.
works.
I was like, he dropped the mic. Not he dropped the mic, dropped the mouse.
What have I done here? I've broken everything. No, I haven't. Anyway, so Leanne, any final words?
Yeah, just your
nice.
child chose you as their parent. So treat them with respect as well.
Awesome. And Lisa.
Did you miss our final words?
Yeah.
This is our
Did I?
double final
Sorry,
words.
I
He was
actually-
too busy playing with his
Mouse.
mouse.
How can the gift that has been bestowed upon you make you a better human being?
Exactly. And the final one from my perspective as an ADHDer, remember every human has two minds. And you're probably going, what? You've got your conscious mind and you got your subconscious mind. But you got to remember your subconscious mind picks up everything that you hear, you see, and all that sort of stuff. Your conscious mind has to tell your subconscious mind what to do. So always positive affirmations. I do that every morning. Like I've got certain goals I want to achieve. I do that every morning. I tell myself what they are at night before I go to bed. And understanding how your own mind works will help you if you're having difficulties with things like autism, ADHD, or any other issues that are going on in your life. So don't be afraid to talk to yourself.
I love that.
It doesn't matter if other people think you're crazy.
Great.
We love you. We think you're
And
awesome.
you're a gift.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
on that one, I think we go into the next song. Normally Aaron would put a song on that's linked to the subject. I'm just going to hit the play button.
Thank you
I'm
for
going-
watching.
So everyone, this has been the
Bye.
no. Sorry, I just called it the greater wealth. This has been
Bye.
the one thing, and we'll see you
One
next
thing.
week.